WhatsApp là chờ
All right, and I'm going to log into the training database.
Link போயிட்டு வாங்க.
CPA,
ஏதாவது கேட்டானா
master.
மாற்றி மாற்றி போடலாம். இல்லை நான் போயிட்டு வாங்க.
All right, so now we're in the system, and what we are going to cover today is company management. We covered a little bit about this yesterday, and I mentioned that company management is where we're going to add all of our customers and all of our vendors. They're all going to go into the same spot. Okay, so if I go to open, it will open the section through any of the contacts that are here. Not any specific, but I just want to show you what happens. I'm going to select open. So in theory, it will open it to the last company entity that I was working on. That is in theory. Sometimes it doesn't happen. If I select add, I'm creating a new company entity. If I select search company, I am searching for all the companies in the system. If I search Rolodex, what is the Rolodex? The Rolodex is a section in company management where we can add point of contact, right? So if I go search Rolodex and I leave this blank and I select OK, it's going to search every single point of contact I have saved in my system. Now this is good because when we're creating quotes or POs, we can reference that point of contact in our quote or in our PO. All right. We can also import the companies. We can do it via Excel. So an example would be that you have an Excel spreadsheet with all your customers and vendors. Well, if we click here, import companies, we can do an import via Excel into Quantum with all the companies, right? We would map all the columns to their corresponding titles, and then all that information can be put. All right. We also have search merge companies. What is this? Well, there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to create the company twice, right? You're going to have, example being Boeing. You're going to have Boeing once, Boeing twice. So when that happens, you can select merge these two companies, and the system will merge both companies, including all of their historical data. So we spoke about this also in our previous class. We can modify what these 6 windows look like. If you see here, I selected rebuild, and I can get drag and drop any of the titles on the top, and this will be saved based on my user settings, nobody else's, right? So if I am logged in, again, as an example, let's say it, only his settings will look the way I love them. Okay? No, I'm not quite sure if you guys have document images. Check here. All right, and yesterday we spoke briefly about the warnings that you can set for each company, right? So if there's a company that hasn't paid you, or if there's a company that you don't want to do business with, we did this example yesterday where we can set a warning message, and then that message will pop up every time you try to do a transaction with this company. Okay, we can also set specific terms and conditions for each company, right? So if for this company, the terms and conditions are different than for every other company, we can do that right here. So the things I mentioned about company merge, if I select here, the system is going to ask me, okay, you want to merge it with what? Let's see if there's one right. So this is XYZ Bearing Corporation, and I'm going to merge it with, oh, there's actually, look at that, there's a DT1 and DT2. Perfect example of what I want to use. All right, so this company was created twice with different phone numbers. They're both in California, as you can see. So I'm going to merge, I'm going to select this one, and all the information from one or the other is going to be one record. Okay? So I'm going to double click on it, and then it will ask me, do you want to merge these two companies? And I'm going to click OK. Take a few seconds. All right. Now you can see that there was notes added all of a sudden here, and that's because we merged both company records. If I want to see what companies were merged, now I can go search for the company. Here it is. And it says on May 5th, these two companies were merged together. If by accident you merge companies, there isn't a function that can be undone. Okay, so you just have to be clear and sure that when you're going to merge two records together, they are the correct. All right. On the bottom of the menu, if I select Add, I can create a new company in the system. That's what this Add does. Okay. If I select Edit, it will edit this company. I can edit the name, I can edit the point of contact, I can edit the currency, right? I can set that the currency for this company is euros. I click OK. If I try to select delete, and I mentioned this in our previous class, you can delete, even though the button is there. I'm going to press it. Are you sure you wish to delete this item? And then, of course, we'll get that error that a foreign key violation has occurred. Copy. I can copy this company record and create a whole new, right? So if I select copy, it's going to ask me if I want to copy, right? This is exactly the same company, and then I can create a new record. History, it's going to give me a history of either sales order, quotes. It's basically the same thing you see in these square boxes right here. Notes, these are the notes located on the top. If I select notes, I can edit those notes, or I can add new notes. The Rolodex, which is what I just mentioned, is where we're going to add users. Okay? I can add a new user here for this company. And I can say, and I can give and then I can give that information here, right, as you can see right here. Okay, site. What is site? Well, if we create one company record and we don't want to create more than one company record, like let's do an example. I always like to use Boeing. So let's say Boeing, for example, we have one company record for Boeing, but we want to add every single site. We want to add the site in Seattle, add the site in North Carolina, et cetera, et cetera. Well, instead of creating multiple company records, we create one, and then we add the different sites. When it's time to create a quote or an invoice, we will have that option to choose which site we're doing business. So approved parts, so we can have put parts based on a company record. Discounts, we can add discounts based on a company record. So if I go here, like add discount code, I don't know, let's just say, well, these are already pre-done for you in the screen database. Enter any information. So discount is going to be 15%. What does that mean? Well, it's going to be a 15% discount from my current cost on parts, right? That's what that would mean. So it will apply every time I do business with them. Okay? And then we come to the button global, right? Where I mentioned we can do clauses, like our terms and conditions. We can add a contact, like we just did in the Rolodex. We can merge, which we also did. We can create a commission fee, right? If I select here, I can add every time one of the employees sells a part, they get a commission for that. Okay? Part, again, I can have specific parts that we deal with this company. If we turn on those settings and you try to do a different part, you get a warning. We can also set accounting limits. Okay? So if I go to accounting limits and I go to the accounts receivable limit, which right now it's set at 10,001, right? They cannot exceed this amount. That's what that would mean. If I try to do a transaction and they already have an AR balance close to this amount or above this amount, then you will get a warning letting you know that the customer has exceeded their credit limit. Things I can add the company's default shipping, and this is a really great tool. And if I select here, ship via account, and I select add, I can select ship via UPS ground, and I can add this customer's account number to the little default. So every time that I do business with this company, it will have that information on the header. What do I mean? It will have that information on the header. So let's just say that I'm buying, this is a vendor, and I'm buying parts. Well, their shipping information will always be the top, the header of the PO. Let me show you this. Okay. So as you can see right here, we have account number. It's located right here. And ship via, it's located right here. So if we save that information as default, whenever we're doing business with ABC Aerospace as an example, that information will always print. That's crazy. All right, contact. You can add contact. You can add specific information based on this company. If there's a specific discount or contact, you can manually fill in the information. The best way to do this is you have stock images, because then you can physically add it. All right. Audit trail, right? Audit trail, very important, because this will tell us if someone has changed any information regarding this company, right? So if somebody has changed their credit limit, added a clause, or made any recent changes, that information will be here. If I go browse changes, it should say, well, actually it says all the changes I've done today, right? And the reason it says 50 VA is because that is the username that I'm using to log in. Once you guys have your own username, of course, it will say your information here. All right. Any questions on this?
Yeah, hi. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. The sorry.
I think you might have somebody in the same room.
Yeah. Now you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I wanted to ask is like for each company we are assigning different users and different agents, and even we can assign more than one ship to address, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
if I go to edit right here,
Mhm.
and we want to assign a specific person who's always going to be in charge of this company, we can do it right here,
Okay.
right? And we can add that specific, I mean, we don't have to add a commission code, but we can add that specific person in charge of who handles this one company.
Mhm.
So yes, and yeah, absolutely, you can add different skip-to addresses. That's where we would use what's called the site, right? So for this one, for example, we have this other shipping address that belongs to the same exact company. So yeah, you can add multiple shipping address. When you're doing business, let's say I create a purchase with XYZ. Let's go on. XYZ. Okay, so XYZ Bearing Corporation. When I'm doing business with this company and it's a different address, I select the year, and then it's going to give me that other option.
Okay.
As you can see, I changed the address, right?
Mhm.
Very, very simple, very easy.
Okay. So there will be a scroll down button where we can select different users, different agents, and also the ship to address.
Yep, yep. You can select a different agent who is in charge of this account at your company, and yes, you can definitely select the different address, like selecting here, vendor site, and then you can choose whichever address you need. Right? Requested by, if I have a different, right here, if I have a different person in charge of this, I can change it here. You say it's fine. And then I click OK. So now if there's a specific report or commissions that need to be paid out, it will be linked to this name right here.
Okay.
Yes. All right, fantastic. All right, so pretty much, no, that does not do it. Forgot the most important thing. All right, so creating a company, and I know we covered this briefly yesterday, but now we're going to go into detail. Okay, so I'm going to select add to create a new company in the system. Okay, and I am going to select your part. Abbreviation, air, water. Okay. Department, I can say sales. Contact. And attention. So what is the difference between contact and attention? Well, contact is a specific person, and attention could be a department, right? You can say sales, for example. Okay? Accounting company, this is not important. Tax table, right? Tax or VAT, however you call it. We can select that every time we do a transaction with this company, there is a tax. In Florida, there is no tax for aviation. So we're just going to select Florida. Actually, there is no tax for aviation as long as the airplane is above 5,000 pounds. Okay, discount code. If there's a discount code associated with this company, we can add it right here. Phone number, of course, this is an easy one. Okay, alternate phone, if we have one, we can add it here. invoice email, why would this be important? Well, for you guys, you don't have that option, but in the system, there's something called Event Manager that will automatically send out the invoices if there's an email address here. You guys don't have that option, but that's why we would add the address right here. Okay. Site, we can add a name for the site. Currency, this is self-explanatory. Class, what is class? On our first class, we spoke about price line. So class is associated with the price line. So if I select here, there's probably something here. Well, there isn't, not ISO certified, but I can add something that says airline. Okay, markup, 25%. Okay. So when I associate different parts with this class code, all those parts will be marked up 25%. Agent or sales. So what is the difference? So agent name could be an outside agent, right? So if you're dealing with a company where you have to pay a commission to an outside agent, that can be added right here. Sales, of course, this is explanatory. Who is the salesperson in your company that's going to be receiving a commission code? Okay, this is calculated only after the invoice is paid. Okay, so keep that in mind. There is a report that can be ran in the invoicing module that can be ran based on commission code. Again, that report does not work until the invoice is paid. Okay, approval code. So what is this for? Approval code is if the company is ISO, or your company is ISO, and you need some sort of approval code every time you vetted the company, you can add that here. How would that work? Well, you see the box right here that says until. So I can say this company is good until May 31st. Okay. So after May 31st, this company needs to be reapproved. Okay. What do we have here over to the left? The terms. We have terms and vendor terms. So the terms on the top are the customer terms, right? What are my account receivables? Okay, so net 30, if I select the ellipsis, I have multiple options. If there isn't an option here that you guys use, you can just select add and create one. Vendor terms, well, if Airparts is a vendor and I'm doing purchase orders with them, right? What is my AR vendor terms? AP. More coffee for me. All right. Stock market code and EDI number. You guys don't have access to this, so you don't have to worry about this. But briefly, what is EDI? Well, you're doing business with that. I believe Southwest as well right now. They only communicate through what's called EDI. And in a nutshell, EDI is a communication between the system itself and their system. They don't want to get your email. They don't want to get your phone call. They just want the system to communicate with their system. That's what an EDI code is. All right. The rest of the checkboxes. So we can select DR restricted, PMA restricted. What would these do? Well, let's do an easy one. So if we have PMA restricted, and in our inventory we have selected that the part is PMA, well, when we try to sell that part to Airparts, it's going to come up with a warning saying PMA restricted. It's not going to allow you to add that PMA part. All right. The other most important thing is to add an office address. So we're going to make up an office address here. All right. All right, so we added an address. However, this is not complete. Now, I wish there was a checkbox or something that would stop users from exiting this window, but there isn't one. And the reason I say this is not complete is because you have to select the tab that says warehouse address. You have to. Otherwise, when you go and print a quote, a PO, or anything, your form is going to come out incomplete, missing a zip-to address. It's going to be missing a zip-to address because the office address is not the default zip-to address. The office address, the system takes it as this is the bill-to address, right? This is the invoice address. So you have to select warehouse address, and you just have to select enter if it's the same address. Right? You selected enter, yes, copy same information. I don't have to type it in again. All I did was open the tab, select enter, and it copies the information from the office. All right. Lastly, this is not mandatory or to me it's not important. You can select customer or vendor, right? If it's a customer or vendor, you can select all. The system does not care. I mentioned this in our previous training session. The system does not care if you have selected this as a customer, right? Or you're buying parts from your company. The system does not care. The only thing this is good for is to run reports. Okay. Regarding the tabs on the top, you can add company financial information. Again, not mandatory. We don't cover this during the training session. You can look at attributes are in the help menu. In AEX, this is what I was just mentioning regarding the EDI. This is Aero Exchange registration ID. You can add it here. Okay. I'm going to select OK. And you will see that the company will be created in the system. All right, so now we have air parts, department sales, contact Mario Jones, attention sales. Right, we have a ton of good information here. What are these little boxes that are empty? Okay. In the system, you're going to find a lot of this empty boxes everywhere. And I want to tell you now what they are. These are called user-defined fields. User-defined fields are fields that the administrator, whoever has the access to the key of the system, can rename these fields to something that, let's say there's a checkbox here that you want, but we don't have a description for it. Well, if I go to user, system setup, and I go to companies, I can select one of these boxes to be, let's say box number 3, I can call this OEM. Approved, I don't think approval type. When I click OK. All right, and now it takes these systems to make a change, but now you can see them here, OEM approved. Right? Now we just created these two check boxes. If I get out of here and go back in, it should, well, you probably have to, oh, there we go. OEM and approved. Now you can see them right here. So I can rename all of these if I wanted. Again, these fields with no name are all over. Let's just go to master parts as an example. I want to show you. You see these fields here with the two little dots? These fields, these 4 boxes, these are printable fields, that you can rename. So if there's information that you want to be able to print that we don't have in the master, I'll tell you one that is very popular in Europe, not so much here in the US. People want to add, when they print, the weight of the part that they're selling. It probably has something to do with customs, I'm assuming. So that's what they're using these fields for. So let me give you an example. Let's use this one here. Okay, so I'm gonna go user, system setup, inventory setting, and then I'm gonna go find one of these user-defined fields, and I'm gonna call it weight, dimension, material. Okay, I'm gonna click OK. I'm gonna go back creating a part. And I want to show you that those fields are now created in the system. Right. Oh, dimensions was too big. You can see dimensions there. Material. Weight. So if I select add weight, it should be somewhere here. Now I have material, I have weight, and dimensions right here. I guess I missed out. I could have done another. So these are printable fields that when you generate a sales order or an invoice, they will print on the form. So again, these are called user-defined fields, and the way you change them is by going user, system set, finding the right module where that field is. Let's say it's on the purchase order. There's something that you want to do, want to use one of these user-defined fields. You can see there's some here, UDF001. Just renaming whatever. On the header, there's one called this one. See, drop zip. There's already a field called stop ship, but I just want to show you what this looks like. So if I go now to a PO, and I go global, edit purchase order, right? Now we have drop ship right here that I just created. Okay. Again, these user-defined fields are all over this. Right. Let's hit cancel. Okay, now we're going to start with quotes. So, customer quote. Customer quotes can be created if the company already exists, if the phone number already exists in the system. Customer quotes can also be created if the customer does not exist in the system or the part number. Right, so let's do that first. Let's select add. We're going to make up a company called we're going to create this company called Air Technical Parts. And I'm going to select OK. The system is going to come up with this blank screen telling me we did not find Air Technical Parts in the system. That is OK. On the bottom, there's a button that says add right here. I'm going to select add. And I'm going to create the company in the system. I don't know what that is. Air Technical Parts, ATP, and I can create it, and remember I said an address is important. etc. Right? Well, now I created a company that didn't exist. This message here that says there's a warning placed in your company, this will not happen in your live database. This is just something from the training database. So as you can see, I created a company. The company didn't even exist as I am creating this customer quote. Okay? As I am creating a customer quote, this field called reference, it is mainly used for that RFQ number that the company has sent you, right? In most cases, when you're creating a quote, there's an RFQ number, request for quote, and I'm just going to make up any number. Right? Attention, well, we didn't add an attention. We didn't add an attention when we created a company, but we can still add it here, right? If we forgot to do it, we can select add. Okay. I can add a phone number and all that information. These fields here, you see these fields in blank? Again, these are user-defined fields. You can rename, you can put titles right here for these fields. Okay? I'm going to click OK. And now the system is creating ET1000, right? Estimate. Could have been ES. Division or department is not important. What is division or department? Division or department only works if you have the accounting module. This will give you a report based on, let's say you have a department that sells engine parts, and you have a department that sells airframe parts, and you want to see how each department is doing regarding profit and loss. Well, then you would have your division or department. Again, you can select this if that's what you want to do, but you don't have the accounting module for the report to be able to run what a division or department is doing. You don't have it. So I'm going to select OK. And now we have estimate 1000 to Air Technical Parts. This is their RFQ number. It's telling me right now that I have 0 items on my quote. So on my quote, to add part, and I want to add on the quote, I select add. Right here, I put in the part number. What if the part number doesn't exist in the system, just like the company? Let's just make up any part. And I select enter. Again, the system will come up with this screen that says, hey, that part number you just entered doesn't exist. So I'm going to select add. Okay. And I just named it antenna. I click OK. And now antenna has been added to the list of parts. Okay. So on the top, we have what type of quote is this? This is a sale, overhaul, exchange, or non-stock, or broker repair. It will always default to straight sale. The most commonly used are sale and exchange. Okay, so for sale, quantity needed, this is self-explanatory. Condition, again, you can choose the condition of what the customer is looking for. Okay. Home sale price and current sale price do exactly the same. You don't have to worry about, this was an old feature that no longer works. So if you were to enter a price here, it just mimics the same thing in currency sale price. If you put the price here, it mimics the same thing over to home sale price. So you don't, there is no wrong answer. You can put the price here or here. This is the price that you're selling, right? This is your sale price for your customer. Okay. Unit cost. Well, this one's very important because this will calculate your profit is. Okay. So this can be done 2 ways, and I'll show you how I was trained before I worked at Component. So unit cost, what the part cost me. Okay. And I don't care what I want to sell it at because it is based on a markup. It is based on a 20% markup. So once I put 20% markup here, the system will calculate everything else for me, right? It cost me $400, and I've been told that everything is marked up 20%. The system will calculate that the sale price is $480. Okay. Also, if needed, there is a checkbox here for no quote. Okay, so we're going to select OK on this one first, and now we're going to do one, no quote, right? Because it is a very common occurrence that a customer will send you a list of parts that you just can't find or are unobtainable. Let's do this plate, and I'm going to select this one as no. Okay. Oh, remember what I mentioned yesterday about the quick print? You see the quick print located on the left?
Yes.
I encourage you to use global print quote. Let's see what this quick print does. I'm going to select quick print. And it takes me directly to the quote. But something happened here. I have 2 parts on my quote, but only one printed. And then I'm going to be wondering why, or I'm not going to know why. So if I go global print quote, I'm going to be able to see the options here, and I'm going to be able to figure out why that other part didn't print. Let's see. oh, because there's a checkbox that says ignore zero price items. So if I uncheck that and I go, okay, print, now we have both parts. And as I mentioned, it says no quote, right? So we did one with a price and we did one with no. Okay. So there is another section to quote. This is not mandatory, but again, as I mentioned yesterday, this is a database. The more information you add here, the better your database will be. This section here called vendor. So for the antenna, on the plate we said no quote. For the antenna, who are the vendors that you found that have this part? We can add them from here by selecting vendors. I'm going to select vendors, and I'm going to select add. Okay, so we found Ace Aviation Partners has the part. They have one, and they sell theirs for $370. Okay. We can also go to the stock market. This part number, you see, the antenna, I made it up, so we're not going to be able to find this in stock market anywhere. The plate, if I go to the stock market, I believe that is a real partner. Search stock market. Really not. Apparently the plate is also not a real part number. But if it was, we would see all the companies that have that plate available, and we can add the vendors. Instead of manually adding the vendors, we can check off what vendors have the part. Let's add a real. Let's go to the commonly used by component control A100. Okay, so I added this A100 part on. I only have 3 parts. Okay, so now if I go to stock market, I like the part search stock market. Now I see all these companies that have that A100 part, right? The item part number. So if I want to add, let's scroll over here. Oh. Okay, so here are my vendors. If I want to add ACI, Advanced Trade, Air, Commercial Jet, AJW Group, this one could be wrong because it says it's oil. Actually, a lot of them say Aerostel. Anyways, if I select add vendors to the quote right here, it will add the vendors to the quote for that specific search. Just like that, right? You didn't have to do anything. The coolest thing is that if these companies didn't exist in my system, now they do. If the companies already existed in the system, it will not add it twice, right? So I just added all these companies that probably didn't exist in the system for the A100. All right, so on the quote itself, the status says fact. We can change the status of this quote to anything. Changing the status is not mandatory. But it is extremely useful when the supervisor or the boss wants to know what's the status, right? Where we are on sending this quote out to Air Technical Parts. Did they reply? Are they interested? So we can create a status called reply. Answer, okay. Right, so now I've selected no reply. Right, so if my supervisor comes and he goes search quote, he's going to be able to see, okay, so it's to Air Technical Parts, no reply. Right, so you can see that the quote was sent. This one says closed. Close doesn't tell me much. Was it sent? Was it approved? Open. Somebody's still working on it. I don't think anybody faxes anything anymore, but we do have an option for fax. Again, in your live database, these options are not there, you have to create them yourself. In your live database, it is blank, right? That's what a live database is, it's blank. So let's change the status back to open. Okay, perfect. So now, my Air Technical Parts, they have approved the quote, right? They have approved the antenna only. But I have 3 parts here. So you could just highlight the part and select delete. The system will let you do that. I don't recommend you do this. Again, this is a database. You want to keep the information as it is. You want to keep the information that when you created the quote, they were requesting 3 parts. Okay, so yes, you can definitely delete these parts from here and just leave the 1 part that they want to buy, which is the antenna. Best way to do this, though, is go to Global, Create Sales Order, Selected Items. So it's going to leave my quote intact. It's not going to remove any other parts. But it's going to create a sales order only for the items that I select. So I'm going to select items. I'm going to select antenna. Done. I'm going to add my customer's PO. And there we go. Now we have a sales order just with the selected item, just with the antenna. All right. So now that we are at the sales order, this little box, critical, very, very important. Very important that this little box that says ready has an X on it. And right now it does not. Okay. Very critical on a sales order. The other critical is right here where it says reservation for shipment. If this is empty, you don't have a part reserved for your sale. Okay? So what happens here is this part, we don't have it in inventory. Okay? We're procuring the part. We're buying the part from a vendor. That's why it says it's not ready. That's why it says there's no reservation for shipment. Okay, so how do we order the part? How do we get a PO created from the sales order? Okay, so on the bottom, there's a button called Miscellaneous. If I select Miscellaneous, and I select Buy One Item, it's going to be Buy One Item, Add to Existing under New PO, or Use Vendor Quote. Right? I had selected a vendor when I was doing my quote that has this antenna. So I'm going to go use vendor quote. Here is that vendor quote, right? Correct date. I'm going to select. And now the system is going to start the process of creating a purchase order for the antenna. All right, there we go. Antenna each. This is the cost that I said it was going to cost me. And if I scroll to the right, the system knows that this purchase order belongs to my sales order, right? It is linked. It is linked together. Okay? What does that mean? What does it mean when it's linked? Well, it means that when this part is received, this cost is linked to this sale, right? Cost of goods sold, right? This cost is linked to this sale. Okay? It also means that when this part is received, nobody else can sell it because it is linked to my sale. Okay. All right. On the sales order as well, you can see, if I scroll to the right, it is linked to my customer quote. My PO. If I select refresh, it is also linked to my purchase order. It is linked to my customer quote, and it is linked to my purchase order. All right, so in theory, let's just say that we finally received the part. What is the best process to continue with the sale? Well, the best process is to go directly to the purchase order, select Search PO, find the PO where we bought the part, double click on it to open it again. I find my part, and I'm going to go global receiving. I'm going to click global receiving, and it will begin the process of receiving. Remember, I mentioned division or department is not necessary. I'm going to select OK. All right. So total to receive 1. Condition code is new, and it says my unit cost. If I want to add any other information here, I can. I can add the tag date. I can add the tag type. Is it FAA? Is it YATA? I can add any of that information. I can add traceability, manufacturing law, etc. For my example, I'm only going to print the barcode link. I click receive.
This font.
All right, so we have the part number, the description. If the part was serialized, it would say it right here. If I had a manufacturing code, I would have it here. Condition of the unit received, unit of measure, the PO that it was used to purchase the part, the receipt date, and the linked sales order associated with this purchase. I'm going to select close, close. All right, my purchase order is closed, right? I want to go see my sales order. So if I go to my sales order, I'm going to highlight that sales order number. And I don't know if you can remember this from yesterday. When I highlight the number, I go and I select inspect. Okay. So now we are at the sales order number. And look at this. It says my item is ready, right? The critical point. My item is ready. And right here in reservation shipment, I have information. Okay, again, critical. 2 things that are critical. Is it ready? And do I have something reserved for this sale? So after I received my PO, it automatically did all this for me. Okay. All right, so now I can go ahead and create an invoice. I'm going to go global, global, invoices and forms. This screen, I would say most of the time is going to come out blank because if there was already an open invoice for Air Technical Parts, that invoice will come up here. So it's always good that it comes out empty. So I'm going to select add, create a new invoice. All right, here's my invoice header. I'm going to select OK. It's going to ask me if this is the part that I want to add. I'm going to select done. And now I have my invoice, invoice number 100. Okay. And I can add different things. Let's say that on the sales order, I forgot to add the shipping charges. There's a button on the bottom called charge. Right? If I select cards, there's a non-stock charge. So I can select freight, and I can say that, remember, home price and current sale price are the same thing. I can say freight is $40. I select OK. And now I have shipping charges. I can add notes. Let's say for the antenna, I want to add a note. Something very common. You shouldn't paint aircraft antenna. All right. So now if I go global, print, invoice, I want to make sure that my charges and notes will print. So I have sales order notes, order notes, freight charge as item. Yep, I want to do that. So I'm going to select edit. All right. And I think that's about it. I'm going to select OK. I'm going to select print. All right. So now I have antenna. I have shipping charges in my total, 520, right? Where's my note? Let's see. like, oh, print invoice item. Here, this is why I say it's always important to come here and make the changes that you need. So I'm going to select print again. Here it is, antenna. Do not paint antenna. Right, that's the note that I added. Condition new. Freight, shipping charges. Here's my freight and shipping charges. And then the system will ask me if I want to post. Remember what I said, the part will remain in your inventory until you select that you post. My recommendation is that you don't post until you know the part has reached destination. It's like no. And I can leave this like this. I don't have to post anything. It's just going to show that the part is still in my system. It is still in my inventory. It is reserved for that still. So once I know it has reached its final destination or something like that, I can go back to search invoice header, open up that invoice that says reviewed. There's only 3 categories: reviewed, posted, and open. There's nothing else. You cannot create a different description. The system doesn't allow it. So I'm going to double click. Then I can go global, post in. And now my invoice will show posted and my part has left inventory. All right. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, and one more category you said that review. What is it? What is the category? One is posting, and other is open.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go here and we go search invoice header, it will give us the 3 categories on invoices, which is posted, open.
Yes.
We don't have any reviewed, but reviewed. Reviewed means that you did that preview, printing it, and you looked at it. So something very, very important, glad you asked that question. The system will not let you manually change it to reviewed until you have printed the invoice. Yeah, you have to print the invoice or the system won't change it to reviewed.
Okay. In that case, I have just printed it, but I haven't posted.
Correct. Yep. You can leave it on reviewed as long as you need to, right? Now, something very important as well is that once the invoice is posted, you cannot unpost it.
Mm.
Even if you ask component control, we will not reopen this for you. We just don't do it. Can it be done? Absolutely. But we just don't. Okay, so yeah, there is no option here. All right?
Yeah, in that case, if the category shows a review, it means like we have shipped the item and it is in the transit.
Yeah, it could mean exactly that. If it's reviewed, it means that you have shipped the item, it's in transit. The reason I recommend to leave it reviewed is because during reviewed, you can still make changes. Let's say there's an additional charge that you want to add to the invoice, you can still make changes when it's reviewed. When it's posted, if I go to any of these lines and I select edit, you can't. It's all grayed out. You cannot make changes.
Okay.
So what happens, how do we correct wrong invoices? Okay, and this we're going to cover on our next session. How do we correct a wrong invoice? We would have to go global, return, returns, and this will create a credit for air technical parts. This is how we correct wrong invoice. There is a button on the bottom called adjust, right here. For you guys, since you don't have any accounting software tied to Quantum, you can use this button called adjust. We don't recommend using this button called adjust for customers that are using QuickBooks or Quantum Accounting. The reason is because it throws the general ledger off balance. But you guys, since you're not connected to anything else, you can select adjust, and I can say here, okay, I'm gonna adjust, adjustment, and I can call this, I'm gonna give this customer a $30 discount, an example. Okay, you get this message that says adjustment cannot be undone. I'm going to select OK. Now you're going to see if I go global print, my invoice is going to have a $30 adjustment. As you can see right here.
And it will lead to invoice number change, like a revision in the invoice number.
The invoice numbers can be changed, right? Just like we did yesterday. If I want to use specific numbers, I go to global settings right here. We open global settings. Okay. I go to automated, I go to number logs, sorry. I go to invoices, and I can rename this whatever I want. I can rename it, invoice number 1000 with a prefix that's called INV. Again, it has to be numeric. It cannot be alphanumeric. You can use alphanumeric if you remove the automated number. Right? If I select here automated numbering for invoices, I don't want it to be automated numbering. Here is management. Then the system will allow for alphanumeric. But if you want the system to do the numbering automatically, it has to be numeric. Right. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys for your time. I will talk to you again tomorrow at the same time. We are scheduled for the same time tomorrow, Friday.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Yeah.
സെയിൽസ് അങ്ങനെ സെയിൽസ് എല്ലാം ഇതുവരെ ചൊല്ലി തന്നതെല്ലാം എനിക്ക് തരികയാണ് ഇപ്പൊ തിന്നപ്പോ എന്നെ കുറിച്ചിട്ടോ இதுல எப்படின்னா பண்ற ஒரு இது பண்ணி விடணும் இது